multilateralism makes all our countries stronger, and I look forward to continuing to work closely with our partners to keep our citizens safe, secure, and with energy security for generations to come. Thank you very much, and now I'm going to hand over to Fatih, who will take some questions, and I'll take some questions as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ed. So, some colleagues have already registered questions or to take the floor. I think I'll start with El País, please. El País.
We'll come to domestic British questions in a sec. We're just going to take some international questions just to reassure the British journalists.
Hello, good afternoon. Mr. Birol, from a layman perspective, we've been hearing for these 2 days from you the urgency for the need to consider critical minerals and supply chains as a crucial factor now in any energy security strategy. But does this mean a shift of perspective, or is this more than a threat now than what usually was the shortage of oil and gas, as we've seen in the last months? Thank you.
Yes. I think, as Mr. Secretary said, the clean energy transition is moving fast, maybe not as fast as some would like to see. That would mean more demand for critical minerals. I'll give you one example. Last year, of all power plants installed in the world, 85% were renewables, which means that we have to manufacture solar panels, windmills. Again, last year, 1 out of 4 cars sold in the world was an electric car, which means critical minerals for the batteries and for the cars. So demand will increase for copper, for lithium, for nickel, and others. Now, there are 3 issues there. One, the mining part of the critical minerals. Second, refining of the critical minerals. And third, manufacturing of these electric cars or solar panels and windmills. When we look at the supply chain broadly, we see a big concentration. And this is, in my view, it can be critical minerals, nuclear fuels, oil or gas. Concentration of the energy sources is always a risky business. I was repeating many times that for me, one of the 3 golden rules of energy security, together with predictability and cooperation, the first one is diversification. So therefore, we are talking with the countries, developing programs, and using our convening power in order to diversify the critical minerals and the clean energy supply chains to be on the safe side. And this is, you are completely right, this is getting a lot of attention around, and the last 2 days, if I am not mistaken, it was one of the top topics we discussed.
100%. Do you want to keep going with the international questions? Other international questions?
Thomas Harding from the National. Given what you've said,
quite counts as international. I think that's the national.
The Middle East one.
The Middle East one, right? I see. Okay.
Given the this might be a question for both of you. Given your focus on the critical minerals risks that you highlighted yesterday and today, in a sort of increasingly fragmented world and a world that is getting more difficult for everyone. Do you both think it is realistic that we can get to net zero by 2030 now?
So to come to net zero by 2030 is not something that I think.
Do you mean 2050?
2050 or 2050? Yeah. Okay, yeah. I have more time, so this is 20 more years.
You've got some extra time.
Okay, this is critical minerals. Need for critical minerals for a clean energy transition and the fast clean energy transition will be rather challenging. I'll give you one example, copper. Because today, copper is perhaps one of the most important critical minerals because the world, as we say, entering the age of electricity means copper, more copper. And when we look at it today, as we do at the IEA, we look at all the critical minerals, their mining, investment, demand, and everything. We see around 2035 a major deficit for copper. And a copper mine, if you push the button today, to develop the first production will come on average in 17 years. So we may well face major shortages of critical minerals mining perspective, and this shortage may mean pushing the prices up, and this may be a hurdle for the cost of clean energy transition. So it is one of the reasons why we have organized this very meeting, to give a heads up to the countries. If you want to see a fast clean energy transition, one of the areas you have to put an eye on is the critical minerals, their mining, refining, and also manufacturing.
I think I would answer your question by saying absolutely net zero by 2050 is achievable. And I'm so struck, because I've been at this a long time, not as long as Fatih, but some time, the transformation in relation to these issues compared to when I was last the Energy Secretary is just extraordinary. When I was the Energy Secretary between 2008 and 2010, people weren't even talking about net zero. Even the UK, which was one of the leaders, had an 80% reduction, which I legislated for, by 2050. Now 90% of the world's GDP, give or take, is covered by net zero. So there's been a transformation, and there is also not just a transformation in the targets, but, and this is the point I was trying to make, a transformation in the rationale, the reason for this. It's not just a climate reason, it's now an energy security reason. Time and again, participants said, we think that clean energy and energy security, and from every continent, clean energy and energy security are now linked. This is our route to energy security. Of course, there's a continuing role for oil and gas, but clean energy is now our route to energy security. So I come away from this actually with a great deal of confidence that this transition is unstoppable and that we can achieve net zero.
And if I may say one more thing here, sorry, to support what Ed said. Today, when we look at the last 2 years, we see a strong comeback of nuclear power.
Yeah.
Why? Because it is mainly seen that nuclear power, in general, homegrown electricity, is a good friend of energy security. And this happened in the last 2 years. What happened? It is Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Many Europeans understood it is a serious story, and they have to increase their domestic electricity generation together with, of course, renewables. And the acceleration of renewables is also driven by the energy security concerns. And if I have to make the ranking, the growth of the clean energy, renewables and nuclear power is driven by energy security, for renewables economics, and maybe I put the climate as the third driver.
What is your fact about is it 87%?
85% of all the new capacity additions come from renewables, 5% from nuclear, and 10% everybody else put together.
I mean, that's 90%, so that's last year, 90% of the new generation was renewables or nuclear. That tells a huge story in itself. Let's take more questions. We'll start with the international. Sorry? One more international, okay. The lady here, yeah.
Hi, thank you. You gathered quite many people from different countries for discussing energy security risk, basically. And I want to ask, what is the significance of this summit on IEA side, and what next steps does the IEA plan actually to strengthen communication among countries? And also this morning there was a ministerial plenary, and could you please provide some insight on the main concerns the ministers raise in relation to energy security? Thanks again.
It is for the IEA, can I?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I would say that for the IEA, my main takeaway is, again, I am very struck that in the middle of a fragmented world, trade wars are going on, and we were able to get more than 60 governments here. It says something. And I was also very happy that all the governments, IEA members, accession countries, partners, all recognize the central role of the International Energy Agency in global energy issues, including the energy security. So we, at the IEA, we are known by the, we are formed by the, as a oil security watchdog. We continue that because oil and gas will remain years to come as an important part of our energy mix. Whatever scenario we go, we will see oil and gas at different levels of contributing to energy mix. So therefore, we will continue to look at oil, natural gas security issues, but we are, as was endorsed by many countries, we will be putting more and more attention and effort on the emerging energy security risks, such as the critical minerals and the supply chains. The governments in the closed session, the ministerial session, they all, I can tell you, all underline the importance of international cooperation. Yeah. All of them. And it was very good for me to hear. They have, of course, different perspectives, national priorities, but this is one of the, in my view, one of the main outcomes from this very meeting, that they were all happy to come here, enthusiastic in the discussions, and made meaningful remarks and contribution for the energy security of today and also of tomorrow. And they gave us a lot of new tasks, and we will take them through together with our governments to look at our program of work for the next years to come. But I can assure you that the emerging energy security risks will have a key role in our work in the next years to come.
Okay, let's take some British questions, Victoria. We'll get you a microphone.
Hi, Victoria Seabrook from Sky News. You spent a lot of time with the US official, Tommy Joyce. Did he use those opportunities to tout US oil and gas for the UK or attack climate policies? And also, if I may, not that much concrete has come out of this so far, apart from warm words for the energy transition. Given the attacks on net zero from America and from within the UK, is that the best that you could have hoped for? Thanks.
On the second question, I feel incredibly positive about the discussions that we've had in the last 2 days, because this was an unprecedented event, bringing together 60 countries for the first time in this context. And what it was about doing was building dialogue and cooperating and coming together to work on shared solutions. And my sense about this is, whether it's on supply chains and the discussions we had this morning on the Global Clean Power Alliance, or on energy generation and how countries can work together on clean energy generation, or on critical minerals, or on lessons about power grids, there's a huge amount of cooperation going on, and there's massive value in this. And just a sense from all of the countries, just going back to this question about the closed session, all of them emphasize the importance of this dialogue and how important that they had found the dialogue. Look, on the United States, the Prime Minister has shown absolutely the right leadership on this, which is President Trump is the duly elected president of the US, elected on a clear mandate. We are the duly elected government of the UK, also elected on a clear mandate. Obviously, there are some differences, but there is also common ground. And part of our job as governments is to find common ground. So, for example, on nuclear, the US is interested in a nuclear renaissance, in building new nuclear as part of its energy mix. So is the United Kingdom. And we see real potential for nuclear, for SMRs, as well as large-scale nuclear. And part of our job is to find that common ground, to work together with the US on these issues, and they're the discussions that we had at this conference. Fiona,
may I add one thing
yeah.
here, just for all of us to understand the composition of the participation. We have more than 10 net oil exporting countries. We had many major renewable countries and renewable companies here, and we had huge copper, lithium, nickel producer of countries. So it was a big mix of countries to understand that there was really not a homogeneous but heterogeneous composition of the countries, and this discussion, this cooperation request come from this very different angle of countries, and as such I completely agree with Ed that it was really remarkable in my view.
Thank you very much. Fiona Harvey from The Guardian. We've heard a lot of criticism of net zero recently. We've heard it from governments, as just been mentioned. We've heard it from across the political spectrum, from trade unions and from right-wing populists as well, and from companies and there's been a lot of attacks. Would you say that in the last 2 days you have silenced the critics of net zero? And what should those critics go and do now?
Oh, that's a good question. Look, Fiona, I think the truth about this is that the Prime Minister could not have been clearer yesterday, which, in his words, that net zero and the clean energy transition are in the DNA of this government. And I thought that was an incredibly important, well-put phrase. And it's in the DNA of this government because it's about energy security, it's about good jobs and growth, including the 2,000 jobs that we were able to confirm yesterday as a result of HyNet, jobs that would not be happening with some of the opponents of net zero. And of course, it's about doing the right thing by future generations. The critics will not shut up, I'm sure, but the critics need to know that if they want to fight about this government says bring it on. Let's bring on the fight. Let's have the argument. And any day of the week, any hour of the day, any month of the year, we will have the argument between cheap, clean renewables that give you energy security, lower bills, the biggest economic opportunity of the 21st century, against their case to say no to all that, to stick simply with expensive, insecure fossil fuels, which gave us the cost of living crisis, which ruined family finances, which ruined public finances, which ruined business finances, and they will say no to these huge job opportunities that are on offer. So whether it is political parties or other forces that want to take on net zero and the clean energy transition, they need to know this government is not for bending. This government is not for buckling. This government is standing firm. And you know what? I think the British people are on our side on this. Let's take Will. Have we got Will Hazel from the Yeah, Will.
Thank you. Will Hazel from the iPaper. Ed, can you give a commitment that US exports to the UK will be subject to the carbon border adjustment mechanism, or when it comes into effect in 2027, or is this up for discussion in the current talks with the US over trade and tariffs?
Look, I'm not going to get into the details of the trade talks with the US, but we've set out how the carbon border adjustment mechanism is going to work. I would just make this point, and it goes back to Victoria's question. I think our cooperation with the US, is really important. And despite the differences in perspective, I genuinely believe that there is common ground to be forged, including on energy. If you take this issue of nuclear, they come at it from a different perspective, but for the same outcome, because they think nuclear is an essential part of the energy mix. If you take the issue of geothermal, for example, a potential source of power, it's also an area where they have an interest in these issues. And I think the fundamental thing here goes to what the British people would expect of us. I think the British people expect of us that we stick to the mandate on which they elected us, which we are absolutely going to do, as I said to Fiona in my question. And they also expect us to reach out and seek to find common ground. And that is what we're going to do. I think we're going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your attendance today. It's much appreciated.
Thank you very much.